First of all, yeah, like I said, it was International Women's Day.
Yeah.
So happy International Women's Day. It was actually yesterday, Wednesday, March 8th, 2023. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you know why they chose March 8th as International Women's Day?
I actually don't.
I looked this up.
Nice.
It's very interesting. So the official reason as to why we celebrate March 8th as National Women's Day, it's because women got the right to vote in Russia. Not exactly on March 8th. It was, I think it was sometime in February. I've got it actually right here. It says, against the backdrop of the war, women in Russia again chose to protest and strike for the bread and peace on the last Sunday in February, which fell on 8th of March on the Gregorian calendar.
All right.
4 days later, the Tsar abdicated? Is that
Yeah, abdicated.
And the provisional government granted women the right to vote. So not technically on March 8th, but on the, I guess, the Gregorian calendar, it was the 8th of March. So
is that like gargoyles?
That's why I couldn't tell you. I literally just copied and pasted it from the website.
Yeah, no,
so
that's
like, hey, that's
very
kind of interesting. So
yeah, I would be interesting to hear like what I guess is that. I'd be interested to see if that's like the official Russian, because I mean, you know, the Mayan calendars and all that, like there are multiple different calendars that have stemmed throughout history. I'd be interesting to see like what the background of that is. But no, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So the Russian women got the right to vote first.
Yeah. I was really curious as to why they celebrated March 8th, because I feel like that's kind of a random holiday or just a random day kind of in March.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really know the significance of it. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll just go ahead and look that up for the show.
That's really cool.
Kind of tell you guys about that a little bit. But yeah, that was pretty cool. We had a couple of our friends, like Matt Stepp, tweet at us yesterday and wished us happy International Women's Day. So that was pretty cool. Obviously, it's a special day to us, and it kind of gives us a little bit of oomph.
Yeah.
You know? No,
and it was cool. Like, it's cool to see. For me, it was very cool, obviously, when, like you said, Stepp tweeted it out and everything that entails. But it's also cool to see, like, all the women tweeting about it. Like we were so busy yesterday, I didn't realize it was International Women's Day until, I mean, maybe actually pretty late in the afternoon, until I saw Stepp's tweet, because we had not been on Twitter. We were in a meeting in Temple at 9 a.m. yesterday, and then we were in there until noon, and then we drove back up, and we instantly went back to work, and it was like, yeah, we were driving, and that's finally when you're like, oh,
it's International Women's Day.
Go Stepp. Yeah. So shout out Matt Stepp for that. But then last night, as I was going to bed, I finally, for the first time, like really got to take like a little bit of a scroll through Twitter and to see all the pictures that all the females were posting, and especially in the sports world, which is someone that we'll talk to here in a second, is Jessica Maury. I know like Rice Athletics tweeted out, Rice Football, their football account tweeted out pictures of all the females on the Rice staff. So really it's cool. Like, it's cool to see the companies really celebrating that too, especially in the world of sports, because that's just, you know, there's not many of them.
Right. And yeah, this is International Women's Day, so not just sports. The official definition of it, it's just it's a day when women are recognized for their achievements without regard to divisions, whether national, ethnic, linguistic, cultural, economic, or political. So
nice.
Literally, happy International Women's Day to every woman out there.
Every woman.
We appreciate you and love you for who you are and what you do.
Yes.
Now let's talk about a little bit of hoops here. What was the official?
Shout out.
Give it to you.
Yeah, shout out Brandon McAuliffe, because if you remember, not last week because we didn't have a show, but the week before last, the reason we didn't have a show last week was because we were down in San Antonio for the UIL girls basketball state championship. So the week before then, we had given a full preview of the regional tournaments that were coming up that weekend. And we were like, I guess WTB, Women Talking Basketball. Brandon McAuliffe sent me a message, and he was like, hey, if it's WTF is the acronym, why don't you go with WTH? We'll say, what the heck? For fun purposes, you know, Women Talking Hoops. And I was like, all right, McAuliffe, you had a good one.
That is really
You did
clever.
a good one. So it's time for some WTH, Women Talking Hoops, with a Z to add a little bit of spice.
Yeah, did you put it down? Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did.
That's awesome. I really love that. Yeah, and it's March after all, too. So it just feels like we're just in the spirit of basketball right now. Like, you're in the midst of sideline reporting for the Conference USA tournament. Yeah. And, you know, there's
Hoops at the Star.
Hoops at the Star, yes, but with an S.
Hashtag hoops at the Star. They did not add a little bit of spice.
No, they did not. And then high school basketball is in full swing right now as well. Like you said, we were down all week in San Antonio last week for the UIL Girls State Tournament. So that was a lot of fun. I was there the whole entire time. You came down for
I was
Wednesday
there for the first day.
Thursday, yeah. So you got a little bit of taste of the semifinal rounds a little bit, and I was there all 3 days. So
yeah,
that was
I will say when I came
fun
back
and exhausting
up,
at the same time.
When I came back up, I watched every single game, all the semifinal games and all the final games except for the very last two on Saturday. So I wasn't there, and that you want to talk about like killing me after like the experience of state basketball. That was the first time either of us had gone. Greg Tipper is trying to interrupt WTF.
Hey, Greg. You are not a woman. Greg, you're not a woman. You can't be in here. Greg, you're not a woman. Anyways, don't get out of here, Greg. You ain't a woman. He actually suggested to be on the show today, and we were like, after International Women's Day, that just don't feel right to me. That just does not feel right.
And let us preface that like almost any other male could have been on after International Women's Day, but not Greg Tepper.
Not Greg Tepper. That just goes against everything that we feel and how we feel about the show. But it was
state basketball was fun because the environment, you're right there. You're immersed in it. As I love state football championships. There obviously is no way that we can deny that. But with state basketball, Media Row is right there courtside. Yes. So you have the environment around you. It's not a press box. It's not a, trying to rush it up and down the sideline. You have a seat right there to all the action. That was awesome.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see the talent level that basketball has to offer in this state. I mean, there are so many girls going to these huge Division I programs. And this was actually one of my hits on my sideline reporting that I did for the DeSoto and San Antonio Clark game. So DeSoto was technically, the girls basketball team is technically in a rebuilding year. And it sounds silly to say that because they made it to the state finals.
Yeah, a ton of freshmen.
But they did not have a single senior
That's wild.
on their entire roster. Their roster was made up of freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. Not a single senior, because every single one of their seniors from last year, all 6 of them, graduated and now play Division I college basketball.
Yeah, that's crazy.
At huge universities. I mean, you're
6
talking like
is crazy.
Yeah, you're talking Kentucky. You had one going to Baylor, SMU. I mean, reading off that list on air, I was just like, this is absolutely insane. The talent level that we have around the state, just in basketball, is absurd. And boys is even like that too. I mean, we've got the number 1, I think, recruit in the 2023 class in Ron Holland, I think his name is, in the state of Texas. So that
out of Lake Highlands.
Out of Lake Highlands, yeah. He's I guess I don't think he's committed anywhere yet, but yeah, he is really, really good. But just, man, it's really cool. Like you said, it's really cool to be down there in the action at all times. There's not many media restrictions there.
No.
So covering those tournaments is really stinking cool because you can get those really, really cool storylines that you just can't get at football. You just don't have the access to it. So it was really fun to be down there.
Well, and I think another thing that should not go unnoticed is I think that I am not wrong in saying that at the football state championships, there can be duds of games.
You're right.
Now, at the basketball championships, there can be duds as well. But overall, I feel like if you had to compare the two as to the closeness in competition, basketball's right there. I mean, you barely had every single game was close to an unbelievable close finish, or the tides are shifting the entire time. It feels like the competition level at basketball is a lot more evenly matched than it can be at football.
You're right. And it's funny that you say that too, because you get a ton of information on all these teams once you get there. Just like at football, you get a media guide, right? You get the records of all the teams who they've played throughout the year. And I was noticing that a lot of the smaller schools, they love to play up. And it's about a 50-50 shot that they beat those higher up schools. Like, I can't remember who it was exactly, but I saw there was a 2A or a 3A team that took on a 5A team earlier in the season. They beat them. And so I think that's really cool because, like you said, you don't see that.
Right. And football. I think that there's a couple things that go into this, but I think comparing the sport of basketball from a girls or boys perspective to
overall,
comparing the sport of football is that basketball is basketball.
Yes. It's fundamentally the same.
Basketball. Now, obviously, when you have Holiday had Jalen Bristow. She's an exceptional player, but she would be an exceptional player at the 6A level or at the 3A level that she was playing at.
Right. And she played at the 5A level last year, actually.
Yeah, Wichita Falls Rider beforehand. Yes. But I just feel like overall, most of the time when you see a group that's operating that well together in basketball, they've been playing for years together.
Yeah.
It's not like football where maybe you've been playing for years together and then you stop growing at 5'6", and there's just nothing that you can do about that. Regardless of the skill you have, there's just a gap level there. And especially from classification to classification, I feel like that gap is just a little bit more narrow when it comes to basketball.
Right. And talk about really good games, too. The best game that I saw wasn't even a championship game. Mm-hmm. It was you know what I'm going to, semifinals. Yep. It was against Coppell and Northside Clark. Yeah. And I'll tell you the funniest part about it, but those of you that Coppell was up with about probably 11 seconds left on the clock. They were up by two. You know what? I bet they even had 5 seconds left. I don't even think it was that much time.
I think when they inbounded the ball they inbounded the ball on this side of the court and were working left to right. I think there was probably 11 by the time they inbounded the ball, but by the time they got to half court,
yes,
I would say probably about 6 to 5.
Yes, so they inbounded the ball. Natalie Huff is the one that took the final shot. She took the final three, and she made it. And obviously the crowd's going wild. Everybody's going insane. Yeah. And I'm looking at her, and she's just kind of that was awesome, So I was like, okay, that's interesting. I'm surprised she's not going crazy. And I figured maybe, it's just a semifinal game. She's locked
calm,
in for the
collected,
next game. Calm, collected. Well, Ishmael Johnson, our college editor and the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Basketball, who literally called a bunch of games last weekend.
Did color for 5 of them.
Did fantastic at it. Actually saw Natalie Huff in the hallway after the game and was like, man, that was awesome. How are you feeling? What were your thoughts going through your head at that time? And she goes, to be quite honest with you, I thought I just sent the game into overtime.
Yeah, she thought she tied it.
She thought she had tied the game. So that's why she wasn't celebrating. She was like, man, I got a whole couple extra minutes to go still.
Right.
I mean, she didn't think that she had won the game in that moment. And so that's why she looked so calm and collected in that moment.
Yeah.
She was like, well, I still got some time to go.
Yeah, because and it's funny because obviously you were watching it from there and you're sitting on the opposite side of where the shot happened. So I'm watching on the screen on NFHS, and I have the high angle cam version of where she's at, the same side of the court of where she's at. So I'm watching, and she hits it, and I say, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
My cat just looked at me like I was crazy. But I jump up, and I was like, "Holy cow!" I instantly text you and Ish, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Which y'all already knew about it because I was probably about 2 minutes behind on the stream. But I was strictly staying off of Twitter because I didn't want to see y'all's tweets. And then I was like, what is she doing? And then her teammates came out and hugged her and stuff, and she was standing there like, what are y'all doing?
Exactly. And they dogpiled her almost.
Yeah,
and she was
1.3 seconds left. Yeah. And then that's when I saw her when her team hugged her. She looked up and she went. Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, there was about a second left on the clock, but Coppell couldn't get it down there in time. So they ended up actually beat DeSoto in the finals game. Yeah. So they are
really
good
champion.
Team. That is really, really good team.
Really impressive team.
Some boys are going on this week, and Ishmael Johnson again will be hopping on color for session 1 of the finals on Saturday. And Gavin Moritz and Trevor Bullard of Texan Live will be switching off with sidelining. They're taking over my job on Saturday. So make sure to tune in to NFHS Network all day Saturday
and Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday.
They're going on.
They're also calling games for us right now as we speak for the semifinal games.
Yep.
So
we've got all of it's the same schedule as what the girls were. So all Thursday, all Friday, semifinal games going on the whole time. Today's 1A, 3A, 5A. Tomorrow is 2A, 4A, 6A, and then all 6 state championship games will be on NFHS Network. So go check those out.
Yes, please do. They put in a lot of hard work for a really tough week. So they're really good broadcasts. But